Welcome back to the channel. My name is Emory. This channel is dedicated to helping you get better at backpacking. So if you're into that kind of thing, consider sticking around, subscribing, checking back to the channel for future videos. Today I want to talk about how to hike big miles. I have created a process for myself, an outline, if you will, or maybe some principles of how to hike big miles. And for me, that looks like about 20 miles a day. For you, maybe that's 50 miles a day, or maybe it's 5 miles a day. It doesn't really matter. The point here is that you're doing more miles than you typically could or would on a regular hike. So we don't need to split hairs about how far we're hiking. The idea here is that you're hiking all day long, around the clock, at least during the day, and going a lot further, maybe more, 2 times further than you normally would. That requires a process. When you're pushing your body and your mind, mentally and physically, it requires a process. And I found anytime I go outside of these principles or this outline, the whole thing just falls apart and I feel like trash towards the end of the day. And we don't want to feel like trash. We want to feel good because hiking big miles doesn't need to be hard. It should be challenging, but it doesn't need to kill you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. For anything that I've mentioned in this video, there are links in the description. I have a backpacking course, a beginner course, 60 video tutorials, a podcast, and my website. So be sure to check those out. One thing before we get started, I want to talk about why you'd want to hike big miles. And for me, I can't tell you for you, but for me, it's a challenge. It's cool to kind of find out how my mind works when I'm pushed mentally. It's interesting to find out how my body functions when I'm pushed physically. And it's just kind of fun to kind of walk a long distance all day long. There's something really special and methodical about covering more miles than you typically would. Like when I get done with a 20-mile day, let's say, I look back and I'm like, holy cow, I've gone a really long ways. And not only that, but if you can see the ridge or the place that you started at way in the distance, that's a huge confidence booster. There's just so many great benefits to hiking big miles that I want to help you out in doing so. Not only is it fun, like to kind of see what you can do, but let's say a trip, I do this annual trip around Mount St. Helens. It's about 30 miles. Now, if I'm only able to hike 5 miles a day, dude, that is a long trip, right? That's multiple days. Now, if I can do 10 miles a day, that cuts it down to 3 days. If I can do 15 to 20 miles a day around Mount St. Helens on a 30-mile trail, that's an overnight backpacking trip. You can do so much more when you learn how to do big miles. That big trip that you normally wouldn't be able to do because you don't have enough time, you can do it now. So maybe there's a section of trail that's 50 or 100 miles. If you know how to attack big miles, you don't have to take more time off work. You don't have to be on the trail for 10 days. All I'm saying is there's a ton of great benefits from it. Not only that, it's good for your mind. It's kind of like therapy. So yeah, enough with that. Let's talk about how to do this whole big mile thing. So I have about 7 principles for how I hike big miles. And the first one is to give yourself all day to hike. If you're waking up at 9 and you're planning on camping at 4, you're never going to be able to cover big miles. That's just how it is. You have to wake up early. So I'm usually on the trail 6:30-ish is usually so I wake up around 6, I'm on the trail by 6:30, and I go to bed at dusk or when the sun is going down. Maybe I eat dinner early and then I hike a little bit more. But the idea here is that you have to give yourself all day to hike. If you're not on the trail, moving down the trail, then you can never cover 20 miles a day. So give yourself all day to hike the miles. Number 2, lighter is just always going to be better when hiking really big miles. The more weight that's on your back, over time, it's going to weigh you down and you're just gonna peter out. I don't really know how else to explain this to you other than weight matters. It's gonna impact your feet, your joints, your legs, your back, everything. So the lighter you can go when you're doing big miles, the better. You'll be more efficient with your body, with your gear. It's just gonna help you out overall. We don't need to split hairs over like ultralight versus crazy ultralight versus ultralight is stupid. My personal belief system is this. Lighter's just always better when it comes to physical performance. You gotta go light if you're gonna do big miles. Number 3, stay efficient and organized with everything. Have a system, know where everything is at, because hiking big miles, you have to be efficient with your time. If I take a break and I'm giving myself about 10 minutes to rest, I need to know where all of my stuff is at. If I'm going to have a snack, I need to be able to get to it. If I need to air my feet out and grab a new pair of socks, I need to know where that stuff is at. I cannot be digging through my bag, wasting energy and not resting. I need to be optimized for my time on the trail. Does that make sense? You can't, I have my hiking partner on the PCT, we would take a break. Bubbles, I love you, but you know what I'm talking about. I have this video of him digging through his pack while we're taking a break on a big mile day. And he's looking for a piece of jerky. I think it was a piece of jerky. I'll put the video clip here. And he's digging through it. I got my legs kicked up and I'm already resting. And he's just digging through his stuff. And by the time we were ready to go, I had been resting longer than he had. When you're resting, you need to optimize for your time. Sit down, grab your snack, kick your shoes off, know where everything is at. And not only that, but like know where everything is at when you get to camp. You're trying to not waste more energy than what you already have to. More energy you can save in camp, in the morning, on breaks, during lunch. It's just gonna help you out all day. This is a marathon situation that we're in. We're trying to just optimize our time. So be efficient and be organized. Number 4, walk slower than you think you should. And I know this sounds strange, but hiking big miles doesn't mean you have to walk fast. Hiking big miles means that you're walking, that you're hiking. The more you're hiking, the further you're gonna go. For example, I have a podcast episode with John Z. He, at the time, could do 50 miles in a day. And he's over 6 feet tall, if I recall. And I assumed that he would just take these big strides to cover these miles. He was telling me that he doesn't really walk that fast. He actually takes really small steps. And his key to hiking big miles is that he's on trail all day long. He's eating on the go. He's got snacks in his pocket or in his pack that's reachable. He's not sitting down. He's not taking a break. He's eating on the go. He's not resting when he gets to the top of a hill. He's resting as he's walking down the hill. You don't need to walk fast. You need to just keep walking all day long. One of the downsides to hiking too fast than your normal pace is that blisters happen, joint pain happens, and really there's no major difference between 3 miles an hour and 3.5 miles an hour, because at the end of the day, it's really not that big of a difference. Don't walk so fast. Give yourself all day to hike and just go at a natural walking pace to where you're kind of not overworking yourself and you're just nice and methodical down the trail. The longer you can be on your feet and walking, the further you can go. Number 5, eat food and drink water or whatever beverage, like maybe an electrolyte beverage, on a regular schedule. For me, this looks like every hour I try to eat or drink something. I don't go longer than 2 hours without eating and drinking. And usually it's between an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how I'm feeling. Early in the day, I don't go past an hour until my body's up and going and has like a rhythm. Later in the day, if I'm feeling good, I will push it to 2 hours. But after 2 hours, I definitely take a break, at least 10 minutes, and I give myself some rest. I don't normally take longer than a 10-minute break unless I'm eating lunch, because I found that's enough for me to like go for another 3 miles or so. Your body needs fuel to operate. If it doesn't have fuel and doesn't have hydration, those last few miles into camp are gonna suck. You're always gonna feel good in the morning, maybe midday. It's those afternoon, evening hours when you're closing in on 20 miles or whatever your tipping point is for a big mile day. Those miles, you want to go to camp feeling good. Put yourself on an eating and drinking schedule, keep fuel in the body, and think ahead for your future self. That self that's closing in on the last part of the day. You don't want that self to be miserable. Number 6, I kind of mentioned this already, but I take micro breaks, and sometimes this is like a 10-minute break if my feet are kind of hurting, or I'm kind of at that like, I need to eat something and drink something. But also, micro breaks are great. And I'm talking like 30 seconds, maybe like a minute. You're walking by a log and maybe your feet are kind of hurting. Just sit down for like 30 seconds, give your feet a break, take a breather, keep moving. If you want to do that every mile or half a mile, you'd be surprised at how impactful a little micro break is. All you need to do is get your feet up off the ground and feel comfortable for a second. Don't take your pack off. Just sit on the ground, sit on a rock, sit on a log. Just give yourself a little micro break, a little breather from moving, get up, move on with your day. Last but not least, listen to your body. You have to listen to your body, whether that is with blisters or joint pain or energy. You have to listen to your body. Be in tune with it every single step of the way. If you feel a bonk coming on, like a sugar low, get on top of it. Have some gummies, toss them in your mouth. If you need some water, drink some water. It's not a death march here. You don't have to keep hiking if you're tired. Stretch, enjoy yourself. If you need to take a break earlier than what you anticipated, just take the break. It's not that big of a deal. No one's gonna shame you for taking a break. I take breaks all the time. If you're on a hill and you're tired, take a break. No one's forcing you up the hill. It's not that big of a deal. Give yourself some grace here. Listen to your body and address it accordingly. So if you need energy, eat some food. If you're thirsty, drink some water. If you got a blister coming on, tape it. And if you don't make your big mile marker, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah, those are my tips for hiking big miles. I personally think it's a nice little outline to work with. It's helped me out a lot over the years. And I'm kind of to the point now where if I implement each one of these principles, I can hike a big mile day without being in the best of shape. So I hope it was helpful. If it was, let me know in the comments below. I'm always trying to learn. So if you have any tips or tricks for how you hike big miles, put them in the comments so others can learn along with myself. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them the best possible. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best hiker in the world. I just know a couple of things that I want to pass on to you guys so you can enjoy yourself in the backcountry. Be sure to check out the links in the video description to the podcast, the website, and my beginner backpacker course. If you're new to backpacking, it's going to help you out a lot. It'll boost your knowledge base right away, cut down the learning curve. There's 60 video tutorials teaching you everything about backpacking that you need to know. If you're headed out on an adventure anytime soon, be safe, make great decisions, and we will see you next time.